Hi. Today's afternoon story is from Tatterhood and Other Tales, and it is called The Squire's Bride. There was once a very rich squire who owned a large farm, had plenty of silver in his money chest and gold in the bank. But there was something he had not, and that was a wife. One day, a neighbor's daughter was working for the squire in the hayfield. He liked her very much, and, as she was a poor farmer's daughter, the squire thought that if he only mentioned marriage, she would be more than glad to accept at once. So he said to her, "I've been thinking I want to marry." "Well, one may think of many things," said the lassie as she stood there. She really thought the old fellow ought to be thinking of something that suited him better than getting married to a young lass at his time of life. "I was thinking that you should be my wife," he said. "No, thank you," she said, "and much obliged for the honor." The squire was not used to being refused, and the more she refused him, the more he wanted her. But the lassie would not listen to him at all. So the old squire sent for her father. He told the farmer to talk to his daughter and arrange the marriage. Then the squire would forgive the farmer the money he had lent him, and would give him the piece of land which lay close to his meadow in the bargain. "Yes, yes, be sure I will bring the lass to her senses," said the father. "She is young, and does not know what is best for her." But all his coaxing, all his threats, and all his talking went for naught. She said she would not have the old miser if he sat buried in gold up to his ears. The squire waited and waited, but at last he got angry. The next day he visited the poor farmer and told him that he had to settle the matter at once if he expected the squire to stand by his bargain, for now he would wait no longer to be married. The farmer knew no other way out, but agreed to let the squire get everything ready for the wedding. Then, when the parson and the wedding guests had arrived, the squire would send for the lassie as if she were wanted for some work. When she reached him, the squire thought, she would be so awed by the fine bridal clothes and the wedding guests that she would agree to be married, for he could not believe a farm girl would really refuse a rich husband. When the guests had arrived, the squire called one of his farm lads and told him to run down to his neighbor to ask him to send up immediately what he had promised. "But if you're not back with her in a twinkling," he said, shaking his fist at him, "I'll—" But he did not finish, for the lad ran off as if he had been shot at from behind. "My master has sent me to ask for that which you promised him," said the lad when he got to the neighbor. "But pray lose no time, for master is terribly busy today." "Yes, yes, run down in the meadow and take her with you," answered the girl's father. The lad ran off, and when he came to the meadow, he found the daughter raking hay. "I am to fetch what your father has promised my master," said the lad. "Aha," thought she, "is that what they are up to?" And with a twinkle in her eye, she said, "Oh yes, it's that little bay mare of ours, I suppose. You had better go and take her. She stands grazing on the other side of the pea field." The boy jumped on the back of the horse and rode her home at a full gallop. "Have you got her with you?" asked the squire. "She is down at the door," said the lad. "Take her up to the room my mother had," said the squire. "But, master, how can I?" said the lad. "Do as I tell you," roared the old squire, "and if you can't persuade her, get someone to help you." When the lad saw his master's face, he knew it would be no use to argue. So he went and got all the farm hands together to help him. Some pulled at the head of the mare, others pushed from behind, and at last they got her upstairs and into the room where they tied the reins to a bedpost. The wedding finery, with the crown and flowered wreath, was spread out on the bed, all ready for the bride. "Well, that's done, master," said the lad when he returned. He mopped his brow. "That was the hardest job I've ever had here on the farm." Never mind, never mind. You shall not have done it for nothing," said the master. He pulled a silver coin out of his pocket and gave it to the lad. "Now, send the women up to dress her." "But I say, master, how can they?" "None of your talk," cried the squire. "Tell them to dress her in the wedding clothes, and mind not to forget either wreath or crown." The lad ran into the kitchen. "Listen here, lasses," he called out. "The master's gone daft. You are to go upstairs and dress up the bay mare as a bride. I suppose he wants to play a joke on his guests." The women laughed and laughed, but ran upstairs and dressed the horse in all the finery that was there. And then the lad went and told his master that now all was ready, complete with wreath and crown. "Very well, bring her down. I will meet her at the door myself," said the squire. There was a loud clattering and thumping on the stairs as the mare was led down. Then the door was thrown open to the large room where the squire waited with the wedding guests. In walked the bay mare, dressed as a bride, with a wreath of flowers falling over one eye. The parson gaped in astonishment. The guests broke into loud laughter. And as for the squire, they say he never went courting again. The end.